All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another week of A Sip of Knowledge with Marty, Duffy, Rhoades, and Bryson. Rick Wasmund of Copper Fox Distillery, who you're going to learn all about in just a moment, and maybe Lou will come back with us at that point.
Lou.
I can't see him, but I'm sure he'll be back. Anyway, before we get started, I'm Will Hooking up from Divey.co. Just want to point out a couple of ways you can interact with the hosts and their guests throughout the live stream. So to your right, you'll see a chat box. Please say hello. Let us know where you're joining us from. And at the bottom of the screen, there's a little button that says Ask a Question. So if you have any questions for Rick or the host, your up presentation, just type them in there. We'll be keeping an eye out for those. And last but not least, invite your friends to join us. There's a button at the top that thinks that the more the merrier. So with all that out of the way, Liz, Marty, Lou, I'll turn it over to you.
Okie dokie. Can everyone hear me? Will, you were fading in and out. Is that just...
Yeah, I'm getting some kind of interference.
Yeah, I'm getting some interference. I think it's the Rooskies. They're always doing that.
What about now?
How about now?
I think we may be getting a little bit of feedback from Rick's end. So
yeah,
here's what we can do to fix it. If you see that little mute button, if you'll hit mute whenever you're not talking, and
much better.
We should be in great shape. So with all that said, I will leave you guys to it.
All right. Hi, everyone. And Will, thank you. You're like a little breath of fresh air in a room full of litter boxes. So hi, everyone. My name is Martin Duffy. I'm a former master of whiskey for Diageo for 14 freaking years. And then a national brand ambassador for Benedictine. Actually, yeah. We'll have
quick. He's very quick.
How I inadvertently probably inspired Mr. Wasmund. Then 18 glorious months as the Benedictine National Brand Ambassador.
Good Benny.
And then 8 years as the co-producer of Chicago Independent Spirit Expo. Last 6.5 years, I have been the God, how old am I? For the last 6 years, I have been the North American brand representative for the Glencairn Crystal. There's only one in the world. Oh, it smells like...
Except no imitations.
It smells like cat butt right now. All right. Oh, I was going to wear these antlers, but I think I've outgrown them. They hurt. They're crushing my brain. Liz?
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Liz Rhoades, technical distiller and spirit consultant. Have just over a decade of experience in the alcoholic beverage space, spanning across a couple different substrates and categories, including beer, rum, vodka. But my particular specialty and expertise is in whiskey, which, of course, we're going to be talking about today, so don't fear. I spent most of my career at Diageo, but now am currently founder and principal at Spirit Safe Consulting. And if you go into the About the Host section, there's actually a little link to my website, so check it out. Lou?
Thank you, Liz. I'm Lou Bryson. I'm a whiskey writer. I was the managing editor of Whiskey Advocate magazine for 20 long years, and I am freelance again. I have my latest book out, Whiskey Masterclass.
Oh, my God.
No time to ship for Christmas. And
this never leaves my hand, Lou.
It's on Prime, correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and there is definitely still time for Christmas tasting whiskey, also on Prime, and plenty of time to get these wonderful books for your loved one. Also a senior drinks writer for the Daily Beast website, and that's where I am. Marty, you want to take us into this?
Yeah, sir. So, all right. I got to get rid of my assistant here. Get out of here. You. All right. So, this week we are very, very privileged to have a man who is, I would like to think of as that second wave of new distillers. If you think of someone like Fritz Maytag being the first and Stephen McCarthy, this man pioneered a lot of distilling and a lot of distilling techniques that we're going to get into, a lot of, or at least maturation processes. He has not one, he has 2 distilleries in Virginia. They're like forts. So if you attack Virginia, he has both borders covered, south or north, something like that. I don't know how Virginia's set up. Anyways, he's a good friend, everybody, from Copper Fox Distillery, Mr. Rick Wasmund. Hey, Rick! Hey, yay!
Marty, Liz, Blue, you guys are the best. I can't believe I'm on the show with you guys. This is
he's going to fit in well.
This is the apex of my career right here. This is it.
Yes. Wow.
Apex, Narthex, one of those things.
The apex does not mean it's all downhill.
Well, okay. It's the current major.
Now, Rick, I often joke, but it's based on my own misconception of how you actually started, thinking that it was very similar to the story of Green Acres, where you were just a city boy, moved out to the country, given up a very highfalutin lifestyle in New York, and came to Virginia. But that's not entirely true.
That's not entirely true. No, what my previous career. So I didn't really start till I was almost 40, but prior to that, I used to work for the circus. I used to work with the elephants. I used to be the mohel for the elephants. I used to do the circumcisions for the elephants. Yeah. So that was my full-time job.
Did you work for tips?
The salary wasn't too good, but the tips were
fantastic.
Large. Yeah. And I had a little side business. I would do expandable luggage. And,
God!
Oh, man. Or expandable trunks. Huh? Hey there.
No, but so and it's just you give tours and you're there. And people always ask, "What'd you do before? What'd you do before?" And I just started with that joke because it's fun. But the reality is, I was a certified financial planner and a Northwestern Mutual Agent for 20 years. So that was my previous job.
See? That was kind of a highfalutin job.
Close enough.
Yeah.
It was not highfalutin. It was just, I sold enough insurance and that I had a little bit of freedom to make a choice, and I made a move.
Now, why Virginia?
Well, geologically, the Blue Ridge Mountains used to be part of Scotland. They were attached, and the climate is just right for that. It matches up perfectly, and it happened to be where I grew up was Western New York, Buffalo, which snows a lot. And then I spent a long time in Florida. My career was, 20 years down there. So Virginia was kind of a nice balance in my life. And we have seasons, but it's not like constant shoveling snow. Instead, I shovel barley.
Oh,
That's an upgrade.
especially when it snows barley. That comes in handy. So now you first move out, and were you already married to your lovely wife?
Nope.
Did you meet her in New York and bring her down to the middle of nowhere and say, "Honey"?
I met her in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah, after the distillery started and it had prospects for success, then I bring someone in.
It was the distiller mystique that did it.
Yeah.
You look cool, kind of James Bondian, except with a big copper pot still behind you.
We met in a bar, and I asked her if she was interested in a lifetime supply of whiskey.
I mean, I've heard a lot of pickup lines in my day. That's a pretty good one.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah, you get the right target audience.
It probably won't work for everyone, but
So now, why Sperryville?
Okay.
Of all places.
Well, backing up, because I know my story a little bit, and thanks for the questions, but the thing was, I was living in Virginia. I was still in the insurance business and looking for my next phase of life, kind of. And I had this idea. I was at a Johnny Walker tasting. I'm very fond of Johnny Walker. Wherever the guy was in the kilt and they were burning the peat and they were talking about that. But when I was living in Virginia, I had just had an experience where I was doing an experiment out in the woods with an old remnant of an apple tree. So someone had cut down the apple tree, never made it to the fireplace, and it was like cherry. It was a cherry, or I'm sorry, this was a cherry tree, and it was like this cherry peat. And I built a fire over it just to get rid of some brush on the property. And the peat caught on fire and just smoldered. And so the next thing I know, I was in downtown DC. But the thing is, I was watching that fire so I wouldn't catch the forest on fire, so it wouldn't be a problem. But I was kind of doing an experiment to see if it would go out naturally. And it didn't. It burned for days. But I would spend hours out there just inhaling, and it was such an aromatically wonderful experience that it stuck with me. And then when I went to the Johnny Walker tasting, I just said, wouldn't it be nice to try a whiskey that was smoked with the fruitwood rather than the peat? And then I went to try and buy a whiskey that was made that way, and I began to realize that no one in the world was doing that. And as I dug into it, I realized, there's differences in regional varieties of peat, but other than peat smoke, there was no smoked single malt in the world at that time. And so I had this idea, and I started noodling out little business plans, and I didn't think that I could really do it, but the more I started visiting all the distilleries, but no distilleries in North America were malting their own barley. So finally I flew over to Scotland. It was my first time there, and visited a bunch of people. Ended up talking to Jim McEwen at the Isla Whiskey Festival, whatever it was, in July or late June. And told him what I was thinking of doing, and he said, that's a great idea. You got to do it. And I'm like, well, why don't you do it? And that way I won't have to bother with all this. And he's like, no, you got to do it. And he said, you come back, be an internship. And so I went there. I went for 6 weeks to study and rake malt. And all day I played with the malt with the guys. And at night I couldn't sleep. So I would be up. They were running 3 shifts a day. I'd be talking to the stillmen and watching the mash and everything. So just learning what I could. And I just got into the rhythm, and it got into me. And I came back to Virginia, not with the idea of making Scotch whiskey in Virginia, but with, going to that next step. And so we were committed from day one, to malting our own barley and using the fruitwood smoke and experimenting with that. And that's how it. So I was in Virginia at the time. Applewood and cherrywood are plentiful in this part of Virginia, as are beef cattle, which is where our waste goes. So it just seemed like the perfect place to do what I wanted to do. So how it is. Life sometimes puts everything together for you. You just got to kind of fit the pieces together, and that was Sperryville's birth.
So, and for reference, like from a timing perspective, this was back in 2004, 2005, right?
Well, actually I did my internship in 2000, and it took about 5 years before, and there were some missteps, and I had worked with my old friend over at Virginia Lightning. I was going to buy his equipment, and then that deal didn't work out, and we had actually launched a Copper Fox, which was a corn base, but Applewood aged. So that was the first Applewood age, but that was under the Virginia Lightning license. And then we had a little disagreement on intellectual property, and we didn't hit our closing date, and so we wound up in a little court. And we secured the name after that, but it just took a little bit longer. I just started something from scratch.
I remember being confused by that.
By what?
Yeah.
The whole, where is this stuff coming from? who's making it what, and I'd never really looked at it closely, so I didn't understand it.
Yeah, it just started to do well. Like I said, we had that option to buy the still, and we just missed the execution date by like a month, and then money came through, and then and then the whiskey started taking off. I did something on a radio show, and all of a sudden sales zoomed, and Chuck didn't want to sell anymore, and it happens.
Now you have, the Sperryville is an old apple factory.
It is apple juice. Yeah, it's an old juice factory.
And you that wasn't only your production, but you also lived above it with your wife and first child, right?
Yeah, well, when we first started, I wasn't married, but yeah, I lived up there, and yeah. And then mom moved down, and yeah.
Swing a bachelor pad above the apple factory. Boom.
That's wild times, yeah.
Yeah, Sperryville, you must have been living it up.
How far did you have to go to the nearest town to meet your wife? I mean, because you didn't meet her in the middle. I've been to Sperryville, and there's like 2 buildings, and you're one of them.
People came to us, Marty.
That's the way you like it.
Nice.
Anyway.
So what made you move? And the thing is, you haven't moved. You still have the Sperryville location. You're still producing there.
Oh, hey, can you guys pour the first original single malt in your glass, just so you can nose this while you're talking about it, because this will bring you to Sperryville, I believe.
Ooh.
Oh.
Now you're talking.
Oh man, you don't have to drink it. Just put.
As I was drinking the rye, and it was taking me more like Winchester up in that area.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, you want to take the full trip, Lou. You want to go all the way. So, what were you asking, Marty? What did you ask?
Your second location, you opened up again, you've commandeered a former motel complex, and now it's made that kind of Copper Fox world, Wasmund world, because it's like 7 different buildings,
we have
right?
any pictures. I think there's a fair amount on the website, or the.
Will, do you have any of those in Williamsburg? Williamsburg?
Sorry, I got my production manager walking in, not knowing we're on a freaking.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. Anyway, he's a good guy.
What's the smoke on that one, Rick?
Say again?
What's the smoke on the original?
The smoke on the original is approximately 60% applewood, 40% cherrywood.
Okay.
Which is listed right on the bottle. Wait, get up there.
Oh, yeah, your bottle.
Yeah, well, this is a old classic one. Hello.
It's on our.
Is it on there? Damn. Yeah, so it is. Look at that.
Yeah, Lou.
Fire.
Lou's not an investigative reporter, just so you know. He's a writer, but an investigative one.
I never said I was a journalist. I've always said I was a writer.
You mentioned that Virginia, the sourcing strategy, right, around the free wood. So that's something, the wood you're getting is all local then, or?
Yeah. Those like 3 or 4 apple orchards that we go to. The cherry wood, we use the wild Virginia cherry. We tried the cherry wood. So the first thing we talked about that I mentioned was the whole idea of smoking the malt.
Yeah.
Which we're dedicated to, but it works in conjunction with the fact that we also do an infusion of toasted wood inside the used bourbon barrels. So in the case of the original single malt, we do an infusion of toasted apple wood and toasted oak wood chips in multiple generations inside the 53-gallon used bourbon barrels. We tried the cherry wood, but did not think that it had some redeeming qualities, but it was a little bitter, especially the wild cherry. So we didn't think it would be exactly something that would put our best foot forward. So we just kept it in the kiln, but pulled it from the barrels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And now,
smoked but not soaked.
Smoked but not soaked.
There we go. See, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
that'll be on the
Can
label.
I use that? Can I use that?
Yeah, see?
There's a lot of marketing that's come up in these sessions, Rick. So
I often say, Rick, they're like little life preservers off the Titanic. You grab them, baby.
Yeah, well, I think we will. Yeah, but what we say is, it's the wood that makes it good, and
Ooh, that's good.
but our passion that makes it great.
yeah.
Yeah, now you lost me.
Yeah, you need to work on that one a little.
But the first one rhymed, and that's what grabbed me. Hey, so now the first one.
But the people do ask how we toast our chips.
Yeah.
And it's a very special way. We pour the whiskey in the glass, we raise the glass, and we say to the wood.
That really doesn't. It really doesn't get the smoke going, though, does it?
Very tasty.
I'll tell everyone about taking our shoes off and how we stomp the barley.
Tell that one. We have an audience who will appreciate it.
Yeah, you could go ahead and share that. Yeah.
So I was down in North Carolina, and one of the restaurants there had a big dinner for American single malts, and they invited us. And they have I think Rua is a North Carolina single malt guy. Westland was there, and a couple others. But I was the only guy that was actually making the stuff. And of all those distilleries, we're the only ones that malt our own barley. So prior to the dinner, we were at a Bartenders Guild meeting. It's kind of a meet and greet, and everyone had a chance to tell the guests about the whiskey. So everyone got up and they were telling them about their whiskey, and then I got up and I said, hey, these are all great whiskeys, and we're thrilled to be here, but we are a little bit different in that we malt our own barley, and I don't know if many of you know exactly how we do that, but what we do is we soak the grain in this great big tank and get the moisture content up and initiate the germination process. And then we spread it out on the floor. And you may have seen that in pictures. But then what we do is kind of special. We take our shoes off and we stomp on the grain to squeeze the juice out. And that's how we get the malt toast.
So at this new Williamsburg distillery, don't you have a building just called the Yuck Shack? You do a nightly gig. All right, folks, we're going to end the tour over at the Yuck Shack.
Yeah.
11 o'clock show for geeks only.
What do you drink?
You wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning every day. You rake malt. Your mind has to wander. You gotta go. You gotta let it go sometimes.
Malt. Jesus.
Now at Sperryville, now back in the day, I believe you said that you had a deal with a local farmer, right? When you were working with one particular farmer for your grain.
Oh yeah. So we
That's
still
still
do same group. Actually, our original farmer.
Passed
Great
away.
guy. We had contacted Virginia Tech, and they had a small grain development research place, and they were working with a seed development farm several hours away, but closer to us in Mount Holly. And the Mount Holly farm had a number of certified growers that were dedicated to, clean fields and clean equipment so that they could grow a crop that was sufficiently concentrated in that one particular seed that they were developing. So the farmer that I hooked up was named Billy Dawson, who's just, one of those really nice pills. He was like the Marty Duffy of farmers. I mean, salt of the earth, nice guy, would help you out and do anything. And he was just thrilled that his grain was going around the world, and we were thrilled the care. I mean, because I'd used other grain sources, and I'd get stuff, there'd be mud in it, and crap and hay and stuff. Billy's stuff was perfect always, and just Billy really cared. And then so we used Billy's group forever. We still do, but Billy himself passed away. I think it'll be coming up on 3 years. So, so we still use the same group of farmers associated with him, and they're all terrific guys. And that's up in Northumberland County, which is about an hour from Williamsburg, about 2 hours from Sperryville.
Now, could you talk about why'd you open up the second distillery down in historic Williamsburg? You are a short
Did you guys
walk.
take a sip of this stuff yet? Lou, did
Yeah,
you try
I've been
it?
drinking it.
Did
Which?
you try it?
Which one?
Are
I've
we
been
still
drinking
on the
Beechwood.
The original single malt?
Oh yeah.
Oh man. So why the second distillery? Well, Sperryville was kind of maxed out, and it was either expand there or go bigger. But Virginia allows us to open up retail stores at the distillery, but not remote. So the idea was, our store was starting to do pretty well. The idea was, well, let's have another store. These things are profitable. And so we looked for a strategically, central spot that was far enough away where we could, basically do another store. Williamsburg approached us, some people there, and I had been there several times to do some shows. And I am not a big city kind of guy. So Sperryville is 280 people. Well, 282 was 283 last night because I spent the night there. So, but now it's down to 282. All right, let Sean stay in the night, so it's going to be back up to 283.
They have to keep on going out and changing that number of the town sign.
So Williamsburg is, colonial capital, a lot of tourism. It's right halfway between the two biggest cities in Virginia, which is, Richmond and Virginia Beach. Closer to the water, ultimately I'd like to get a boat and take the kids sailing on the Chesapeake, maybe on down to the Bahamas every now and then. So, here we're a little closer to the water. Sperryville's spectacular and beautiful. It's right next to the Shenandoah National Park, right in the prettiest part of the park. We're like 3 or 4 miles from the park boundary at the distillery, and on a little river that's coming right out of those pristine mountains. So Sperryville's beautiful, and I love it, and I love going back there. But Williamsburg seemed to be more of an opportunity for growth, and could let the brand grow a little bit. Even with all that, I wouldn't have moved here had I not gotten a deal from the city on the property, which is like a 6-acre property with 9 buildings that were kind of separated, but not too far, and wood frame interiors that were easy enough to tear out. So we kept the shells of these old buildings and converted them to our production area. So like one hotel room building that used to be 12 rooms is now gutted, and that's our malt house and kiln. And that holds perfectly a 3-ton, 6,000-pound floor, which is like 4 times the size of Sperryville. They have a whole building dedicated to nothing but malting barley. And right next to that is the same size building, same footprint, and that's gutted and roof raised and everything for barrels. So, and then we have a separate building for bottling, and then the main part is like the cook and the still. And so everything is, so the whole thing was meant to be twice the size of Sperryville. So we kept everything going. We triple our production by opening a new place. And I thought that was
barrels and people.
Pardon?
More barrels and people?
More barrels than people, yeah.
Well, the whole complex is as big as probably all of Sperryville itself, not just your distillery. Because
Sperryville, no.
Yeah. I drove through Sperryville. I think I blinked, and then that was it. I didn't even see it. I have to go back and not blink to see your distillery. Now you the new distillery not only has the barrel house and the malt. Talk about too how when I saw your place in Sperryville, this was 2010. What was that? Someone calling me? There was a there was a you had your nephews, I believe, at the time were your malters, which I don't know if I'm getting you in trouble with the child labor laws, but they were out there raking the barley in your little malting floor.
Yeah, and
You
yeah,
still
but then
hire
they,
children?
they high school became a little more demanding for them, so I had to. No.
You don't work ethic. Give
No,
them
well,
monkey shoulder.
my nephew Andrew is still here. He's still with me. He's I think he left for a little bit, went to work with Budweiser up in Illinois, but then he came back and he's been managing the place for the last 3 years. Malt floor. So It's been good. It's been good. He's very dedicated.
So did you
He doesn't work
originally
7 days
start?
a week, so I have to rake malt every now and then. Jeez.
Did you decide to do the malting in your own because of the fruitwood smoke? You couldn't get anyone to do that, or you just wanted to do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. But I think the reality is I just wanted to do it, and I wanted to experiment with different smokes and get a handle on it. And once I came back from Bamor, I was kind of hooked, and I knew, part of it was, I built this distilleries to show people how whiskey was made, and to not have the malting as part of it, to me would be, it would certainly miss our story, especially with the smoke and experimenting with different smokes. So it was not ever an option. I never considered not malting barley. I know no one did it, in North America, but it just, I guess I also had set in my head the idea that I would live at the distillery or in close proximity to the distillery. So to me, it was no big deal, especially in Sperryville. I mean, the floor was 1,500 pounds or something. So I mean, it didn't take, Bamor, I was raking 8 ton. So to rake that was like nothing, and so you just had to set the clock, and then eventually I taught other people how to do it, so I didn't have to do it all the time, but I did it enough, in the late hours and things like that. So it became just part of the thing, and the other thing is, it's hard enough that no one else wants to do it. So we could always say that we're kind of special because we do it, because no one else does.
And it's cool to see. I don't think a lot of Americans who haven't been overseas see too many malting floors.
Generally, when I'm doing talks, I still have to explain what the hell malt even is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially when you start looking at the different flavor components. But so, all right, we've gone through the single malt. So that's 100% malted barley, the 40-60 mix of applewood, cherrywood, then fermented. We do a mash, not a wash, which is a little bit different than what they're doing in Scotland. So the whole grain is ground and goes into the fermenter. We hit the temperatures and the cooling and add our yeast, about a 5-day fermentation, and then into the pot still. We use a pot with a doubler. I don't know how the heck I got into that, but that was from the days at Virginia Lightning. It just seemed to be a reasonable system, and I kind of got into that rhythm. So when we designed a system, that's what we did. And I had a guy come over from Scotland, an engineer that used to be the manager at Bamor, but retired and doing a lot of consulting for Forsyths. And he kind of helped me put the still together. And, his philosophy was, let's try it and see how the spirit comes out. And if we need to make some adjustments, we will. So we tried it, and we kind of loved it. And the spirit came out great. And that's what we stuck with.
So are you hammer then, or are you still a roller?
Hammer.
Okay, yeah.
which is a lot easier, and I think it's a little easier for us from what I've seen for the the waste. Just everything gets pumped out of the mash still and pumps out clean, and all goes.
So you're distilling on mash, not wash.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Correct.
All right.
I guess I had the thought that, all that smoke was, a lot of it was in the husks and everything. And yeah, you could wash it out, but, it's again, the bottom line for us is flavor. I mean, do you like the flavor? So, and we wanted something big and distinct. And so I was just tasting the single malt, and I think it's big and it's distinct. There's nothing else like it. We were doing a show, and we just got overrun with people buying bottles this weekend. And it's not, it's not 100%. I don't know that anything could be 100%. I mean, but it's like 80% of the people, they love it. They try it. I go, oh my God, that's smooth. I've never had anything like it. Yeah, the flavor. And they buy bottles, and they become fans. And that's what that's all I ever wanted. There's, occasionally someone will turn up their nose at it, and I get it. We're not everybody's whiskey thing, but it's distinct. It's my view was, if enough people like Lefroy to keep them in business, I could make something. And I know you've all had that, and I love Lefroy, but you kind of got to be in the mood. So I figured we could make something.
I've heard Steve McCarthy say something really similar.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, do it. Let it rip.
I mean, that's how everybody. I mean, anything that's kind of cool and unique out there, it's because someone said, I'm going to do something kind of cool and unique. And people like it. And usually, that other 20%, once the 80% get real vocal about it, the other 20% start going, yeah, I like it too. Oh, Jesus Christ. What's the matter with you? It's only
going back to the process and flavor, backing up a bit. Alongside trialing the different, fruitwood for smoking, did you also do any trialing on the varietal level, or you just said, well, what's the point? The smoke is probably going to overpower any sort of
variation.
Yeah.
Just to be clear on your question, you mean the variety of barley or the variety of the fruit?
Barley. Yeah. Thank you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Touche.
No. There was a great quote that I heard when I was young, and the greatest problem with communication is the illusion of it. So you can ask a question like that. I can hear it one way, and it could be, we're both being accurate in our heads, but if you don't know, you don't know. So with the varieties, we tried 3 or 4 different barley varieties, but it's not. The reality is it's not that much of a choice because of the difficulty in growing some of the 2 rows. So with the climate in Virginia, it's wet, and it does take a talented grower. And when the weather's right and the grain is ripe, I mean, the guy's out there, he's got ZZ top cranked on the big John Deere 24-foot freaking combine, and he's working 24 hours a day.
There's a picture.
Yeah.
In to get ahead of the rain, because it got the mold and the malt toxin and all this stuff. So some of it's more. We do malt barley for some breweries. It's not entirely our thing. So some of the beer is great, but some of the 2 rows are much more susceptible to the mold and the germination on the stalk. So we're working with Virginia Tech. We're always looking at some of the different varieties, but when it's like they harvested this 2 row. I think it was about 3 years ago. But it rained like before they harvested it, so and
Yeah.
we tried to malt it, but it was all sticky. And the thing is, it germinated already, you know. So we said, well, we're not even going to malt it. We'll just sell it to the brewers. We'll call it natural phenomena. Charge them extra for
Natural malting process. Natural malt.
It's that Babylonian beer. Yeah, it's ready to go.
That's
So
something.
the varieties are a little hard, and it depends on the season and what we get. So there's a a choice that the farmers have, and we talk about it. How many acres are they going to plant? If it's bad, it's bad. We get none of that. But
Not to show ignorance or anything, but isn't that kind of south for barley?
Well, the climate,
When I think of barley, I think of like the Dakotas and Canada.
Yeah.
For barley?
I was just gonna. I mean, something, Rick, that you said earlier about Pangea and different climates, but actually this has happened. Some of the programs through the American Malting Barley Association, where some of the nursery programs are in Minnesota and Wyoming, and there's been times where we'd say these varietals aren't good. We're not going to put them on the list either because of yield agronomics, their malting properties. But on the flip side, they're performed really well in the Mid-Atlantic region, and that's very specific.
Well, the other thing that you keep in mind, and Lou, like what you were saying, Canada and stuff like that, I think the barley up there is a spring planted variety. In Virginia, it's a winter variety. So
winter, and that's
barley in Virginia is planted in October. Grows up to grass height, and then they get the snow and the winters, it's kind of dormant, and then it takes off in the spring, and it's harvested last week in May, first week in June, in that neighborhood. So it's a different variety than the stuff in Canada. So we would be very south for the spring varieties, but we're, that's what Virginia Tech was working on. So I just cracked the original rye whiskey.
I'm about a whiskey behind, maybe.
Now this is the actual bottle of the original rye. All the way back. Look at that.
So,
1910.
Quickly, Charles Tower says, "Good to see you, Rick."
Yes, that's right. Charles says hello.
They say hi, Charles. Hi, Charles. I guess I can say hi. Hi, Charles.
And there's actually a link to the Copper Fox website below, so you can check that out.
Why Copper Fox? Where'd that come from? I mean, I can guess where the copper came from, but
the copper distill. Well, the Fox, where I was living, where I was doing where I inhaled my cherry wood mulch for a few days, was right in the middle of kind of a preeminent fox hunting part of Virginia, and you know how it is when you incorporate a name, you got to look for something that hadn't been used before and all that.
Yeah.
But also the fox in Eastern mythology was always the animal that was entrusted with communicating from the spirits to the human beings.
Like me. Did you get
there was fungus on that cherry wood, wasn't there?
Spirit
that you were inhaling. Just guessing, but
you're known as the Jim Morrison of Virginia. Oh yeah.
Jim Morrison.
I'm the whiskey king. I can do anything. Did you ever find that copper? Not the copper, but the fox head I sent you for your little speakeasy?
Oh yeah.
You did? Did you hang it up? Is it there? Can I go there?
It to the taxidermist first.
Well, it wasn't a real fox's head. That was way too expensive. No, I sent him something much cheaper. But it looked really cool, and I thought so. At the Williamsburg distillery, when I was there, you guys were just building what you were calling the speakeasy. It was an event space and a bar, and then you had another building back, which was kind of your tasting room, gift store. And if any of you who visit Williamsburg and are lucky enough to see Rick there, it's kind of like stumbling upon Dean Martin, because he's really just sitting in lounge chairs drinking his own stuff a lot. That's the experience I had. It's like, hey, Rick, can I go see this stuff? He goes, hey, why don't we just sit here in this chair and drink some of this whiskey?
I watched the teaser vid that you sent through on YouTube, and I think even in that vid, you were in a couple different lounge chairs.
Yeah. So all this hard working talk, I think it's a bunch of lackeys doing that stuff.
Yeah.
While you're there going, hey there, son, can you bring me another one? How about that peachwood?
But that was cool. There's some sort of secret door in the distillery. What's that about?
Well, there's Liz, when are you coming down?
It's a secret, Liz. Jesus.
Yeah, it's not so secret anymore, Liz.
We do have a hidden door built in a bookcase that's next to the fireplace in the main chandelier room, and that leads into a cool drinking room.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
That's
the kind of the way we roll. There's a couple secret doors now, but
and now I think you put it on hold for a bit until you got everything else going. But you had, since this was an old motel, you had about, was it 12 rooms that were old motel rooms, but you were going to preserve them and fix them up and maybe do an Airbnb right there at the distillery. Am I mistaken?
Well, we did change that a little bit. What we did is we kept all the rooms intact. The old hotel rooms had their sheets and, everything. So what we do is the first barrels that we made in Williamsburg, we actually tucked into the beds.
Nice.
So
So for
barrels are the sheets, and there's with the do not disturb.
No, I don't believe that at all. First off, those beds would be crushed under the weight of a barrel.
What?
And why? Why would you do that? But it's so nice. They're there for the long sleep. So why not charge them? And they are paying for it in the long run, each one of those barrels.
Well, but the thing is, I tried to do something else with them. I had ducks in the pool, and I wanted to try to make some duck confit. So I picked up the ducks and I put them in the little bed, and I tucked them in with a nice soft pillow, and that's how I made the duck confit.
Oh boy, the Yuck Shack is going to be busy.
Wow.
Busy, lying around the block.
Is this new material or is this stuff you've already been working on?
Oh man,
The last 15 years.
Oh my God.
Now,
hey, Lou, have you got the rye whiskey?
I do. I've actually emptied my glass twice already.
Oh man, there's a big hole in the top of mine.
Yeah.
it's letting all that whiskey out.
It all gets out.
It gets out.
So this rye, the mash bill, and I know, Marty, it's on the bottle, but for those of you that don't have your own bottle, and it's 2/3 rye and 1/3 the applewood cherrywood smoked malt is the mash bill. So there's only 2 grains. It's aged the same way as the original single malt. So with toasted applewood, toasted oakwood chips inside the used bourbon barrels, multiple.
We really got to get into that some more.
Yeah.
That's the thing you do that's really different.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Other people make their own malt. I will admit, not everyone smokes with fruitwood, but see, I have a blind spot with that because a lot of brewers do. There's not that many brewers that smoke with peat. Mostly they're using wood, beechwood, fruitwood.
Yeah.
So I tend to not think that's as unique as it is in whiskey, but it is. But the soaking, the toasted wood, apple and oak, that's
inside the barrel itself. Yeah.
Yes, the soaking, not smoking approach that I mentioned earlier.
Again, put that on your bottle. There's another Rick, I hope you're writing all this stuff down.
So how did you? Where did that come from? Where'd that idea come from? Making tea?
Well, no, it was driving in the country. I was driving down the road. It stopped at a railroad track. The spaceship stopped and pulled me up and took me to the planet Maltos, because that is where the universe's greatest whiskey used to be made. But now that planet is spiraling into their central star. So what's happened is they needed a new place in the universe to make the universe's greatest whiskey, and so I was nominated. You didn't know that?
No, I heard the story about them putting you in the net and dunking you in a barrel of whiskey to try and slow you down.
This is Wasmund flavored. Put them 3 times in your whiskey. Now tasting crazy.
But Lou, this is we talked about this a little bit in the past, but this was the only rye that I know of in the world made with a smoky malt component. Now, I know a bunch of craft guys, there's probably someone else doing it now, but when we've been making this since 2006. It's been on the market since 2008. The
thing I like about it is you didn't go wild with this one. The smoke is relatively gentle on the rye, and I like that.
I think it's very well balanced, but it's richer. I think it makes a better Manhattan. I think it makes a better old fashioned, and I think it's perfectly drinkable on its own.
Pretty smooth.
What do you think? Can you stomach this one?
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty smooth. I was from a mouthfeel perspective.
So it's what, like Marty said, hey, it's not as bad as I would have thought.
No.
You see it? You see that?
It's better than a sharp stick in the eye.
Oh.
Yeah.
So your single malt. Wait, yes, the single malt's at 48%. But the rye I have is 45.
Right.
So that's still the same because it's a much older bottle.
Yes, that's still the same.
Much older, 1910.
Going back to the, since flavor is obviously what you're after, in terms of parsing out, the smoke coming through the malt versus what's happening during maturation, what are some of the key drivers of flavor that you're seeing in both of those two? Or are they synergistic?
Your microphone was playing a little bit with my ears. Can you say?
Yeah, I couldn't hear all that either.
I did, Rick. It's because of you. You got to turn your mute on while she's
I don't think so, but I'll try it.
No.
The question was about flavor generation in terms of what you're seeing come through the malt versus what you're seeing come through maturation with that special process with the fruitwood.
I expected a brilliance in your questions and analysis, and I'm glad to see you come through with that.
She's the brain.
The answer to that is really interesting, but I am going to hold on to that because that's the secret.
Wow, nice. Ancient Wasmund secret.
He's done this to me a couple of times.
I will give you some clues, but that is because we don't have a patent on this stuff, and it's I was told we explored it. Maybe we could get it, but we'd have to be very specific, and someone could. Yeah. So all we have, and we share a lot, and I think we share a lot with the industry, but we like to hold on to a few things.
But don't you believe though, if you did share all the details, it always seemed to me that one.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Anyways, the
new iPhones have a little button that you can.
Yeah, I know. Nice. But now, don't you believe though, even if someone were to try to recreate your whiskey at their distillery, would they actually be able to reproduce your whiskey? And the lizard, maybe you want to chime in. I mean, I don't know scientifically if that's possible, but it always seemed like over in Scotland, that was the word over there is that, no matter what, you try to reproduce. It was a problem with like Klein Leash and Brora.
Yeah,
right?
Well, even two distilleries in Scotland are making different things, but look at McCarthy's. Isn't that?
Yeah, but that's not. He based that off of Lagavulin, and it's good. I like it, but it's not Lagavulin.
Okay. Well, but I don't know. I mean, I have not gotten to the point where I can identically reproduce 2 barrels. So
exactly. Well, that's my point, though.
It's like grandma's cookies. You're doing right, and you don't let the chickens poop in the batter, and
that's the key to grandma's cookies.
I'm not eating at Wasmund's Distillery.
Chickens out of the kitchen, and that's
or these grandmas. Isn't that what Tom Johnson always talks about? Grandma's cookies.
I don't know.
Tom at Aroma Academy is always saying, "It tastes like grandma's cookies." He says, "What does that tell me? I don't know your grandma." They're always good.
Gingerbread cookie.
Oh, yeah, my grandma made a ginger. Oh, sorry.
So now, Rick, are you making different whiskeys at the 2 different distilleries? Are both distilleries making the same stuff? And do you ever vat those just for that consistency, possibly?
Yeah, because then it wouldn't be a single malt, right?
Right. Well,
but it's both Copper Fox. Does it have? It's 2 different locations in the U.S.
Well, in the U.S., you can do anything you want because there's no rules.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
While there's no rules out there yet.
True.
Well, the thing is, Williamsburg, we're too new to have too much mature. I mean, we have we made some bourbons earlier here that's 4 years old coming up this year, so that stuff will be released. But the single malts we didn't start until we made a whole bunch of rye through the fall, and now we're on our big single malt kick, and so that's what's running today. So it's a little too early for that.
Do you do anything with Colonial Williamsburg?
Well, we love to go visit. We've given them hand sanitizer. They send us, a ton of people. But that's kind of on my list of things to explore. I think they have it's a national, it's a foundation, and I think there's some prohibition with alcohol. That's why they can't make beer over there or whiskey. So I don't know how hard that is. How hard and set in stone that rule is.
My brother-in-law is the director of research over there.
Really?
Yeah, he runs the library and research. He actually just keeps getting freaking promotions. I think he's a vice president now.
Wow. Does he have books hidden in the library that have a bottle-shaped cutout? Yeah.
No, he doesn't really drink whiskey. He's a beer guy. Drinks beer like a fiend. He loves all kinds of different stuff, but can't get him going on whiskey.
Well, Rick, maybe it'd be kind of cool if you teamed up with, say, Steve Basher up at Mount Vernon, and you guys approached historic Williamsburg and said, "Hey, why don't we make a distillery that would produce a whiskey as they brought back during that time?" Is it?
It's on my list.
It's a long list. It's a really long list.
Well, it's a little bit of a long list, but no, it would be a great idea for them. But
yeah,
I wouldn't mind it. It's such a cool place. So it's only a half mile from where I'm sitting. So it's just, it's right down the road. My daughter goes to school. It's contiguous with the governor's palace, right next to the park. So we walk through there many times a week. So
he lived right there on Duke and Gloucester Street, for 6 or 7 years. and it finally got to be too much. I mean, we'd get down there and we'd be sitting on the back porch and there'd be people walking through his backyard because it's not really his backyard.
Snapping photos to you guys, thinking that you're historical reenactors.
Why are they dressed that way? We'd be sitting back there with a little keg of beer, drinking, just hi.
Rick, you should dress in that garb. When
you're at garb in the summer.
If you walk from the distillery to the Colonial Williamsburg, you walk right past the site of the old jail, and there's a reproduced jail. And the thing about the jail is that's where they held Blackbeard's crew after the governor of Virginia sent militia down to get Blackbeard. They brought Blackbeard's head back. They, decapitated him in the battle, and they brought his crew back and tried him, and they hung him like 0.2 of a mile. So right in between here and Colonial Williamsburg is where the gallows were. Yeah.
Yay.
So these guys, Lou, these guys come dressed, and so we have this guy come in the distillery dressed as a pirate. And he orders a drink, and the only thing is he's got this ship's wheel sticking out of his pants.
Oh, no.
Right?
Here we go.
He's got this ship's wheel sticking out of his pants, and I get him a drink, and he orders another one, and I got to ask him, I'm saying, pal, what is the deal with the ship's wheel sticking out of your pants? And he said, it's driving me nuts.
Thank you.
Nice. Nice. You know why pirates are mean? Because they are. Thank you.
Well, would you mind? Would you know the pirate's favorite letter, Marty?
R?
The C.
I would think so, but actually it would be the C.
Oh, I see.
So there's a couple comments.
Please.
Charles also said, are you still producing the barrel kits with CFDE make?
I have one of those too.
Yes, we are. Hey, Charles, we are. We're still making that, and they still do very well, and they still make good whiskey. Predominantly, we did switch to a bourbon mash. We still offer the single malt and the rye spirit, but most of the kits out there now are the bourbon mash because it's a new charred white oak barrel. We were talking about the oak, the sourcing of the apple wood, and we did experiment with different varietals there. But the oak, one of the blessings that we had, a lucky thing, was, oh my God, this rye is so good. Did you like the rye? Marty, you like the rye? Oh, you haven't tried the rye. You got the piece.
No, I don't want to open it. It's a collector's item.
I don't think I have any left.
Well, that's all right. We got to go to the Peachwood. So one of the things,
It's going to be a slow afternoon.
White oak is prevalent in Virginia, and there's a stave mill. They don't make barrels at this place, but they get the oak and they air dry it. And I think they do mostly get shipped to California to make wine barrels. But the guy had these piles of air dried oak like remnants that were 5, 6, 7 years old. So our oak chips were air dried white oak that was like 6 years old. And so when not only do we add the apple wood, we got a hold of this exceptional white oak. And so we have a stack of it. So we rack that and stuff. So everything, our new oak is like 3, 4, 5 years old now.
Got another idea for your list here. Kathleen asks, have you considered partnering with the Native Casino in Virginia on doing an on-site distillery?
Right.
How long's that list?
How many more distilleries do you want in Virginia?
I have not considered it. I'm open to it. Anyone that, and I'm sure we can do that for a little south of $1 million for a small one. If anybody wants to, we can fund that. We can do that.
Well, it's a casino. You'd think they'd have the money
and the market.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Oh,
yeah. Maybe too much of a market.
She added the near Richmond.
Wait a minute. There's a bottle walking across the camera. Could you?
Little Copper Fox making an appearance.
Oh, it's the Beechwood. Oh,
Yeah, well, that's what I've been drinking.
how
Yeah.
is that, Marty?
I love it. I love it. It's really good.
Yeah, that's good.
Lou, have you tried it yet?
Are you kidding? That's yeah.
Yeah, we all did
Yeah,
it.
The nose has a really nice kind of chocolatey, fudgy kind of cake frosting on the nose.
You gave me the tail end of a bottle at that malting conference in Asheville when we were there. You gave me I think there was like a quarter of the bottle left, and eventually I got back to my room and started working on that. So
research. It was all research.
It's all research. Yeah.
It's hard work. It's hard work. It's not easy being Lou.
No.
Keep telling people, but nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick, Lee Wood says, we use malted rye, cherry wood smoked malt, and chocolate malt in our rye at Woods. I've been wanting to try that Copper Fox for a while now. Sorry, Lee, if I totally gave you an attitude and personality that was nothing like your own.
So where is Woods? Is that in Minnesota?
Colorado, right?
Beats me.
Oh, I know this. No, I think it is. Isn't it? It's Colorado. It's Colorado. Yeah.
Cool.
Right?
Well,
Right, Lee? You can tell us, Lee. Now, where can folks get your whiskey? Now, it's available, obviously, in Virginia. It's available at your distilleries. Are your distilleries open for tours? Can people come into the store and just purchase and then they have to leave? Or what's the situation with you?
We have, we really work pretty hard to make some safe spaces to drink, predominantly outside. In Williamsburg, there's a little bit more inside space. Sperryville has some nice inside space too, where we got people spread out. But we've temporarily discontinued the tours for the COVID. We just because the tours would go right through the bottling line and everything, and you'd be surprised the number of people that will open up a box and pull out a bottle, and it's just you got to tell them. Yes, nuts.
People do that kind of crap all the time.
Wow.
So we just to try and clean after giving a group tour is impossible. So there's no way we could do it.
Why not just give them a tour outside the buildings and just point?
Well, we can. In Williamsburg, it was kind of set, from inside, there's a big window into the still house.
Oh.
So you can see that. And there's a big glass into the fermenter room. And you can stand outside and look in the malt room. So you can do a lot of passive stuff without going in. So we will be starting that back up very soon. I heard the new vaccines were started this week. Maybe if the second one's approved, maybe they'll get 20 million out by the end of the month. That'd be great.
I heard the second one was approved. I thought I heard that this morning.
I was listening for it. I think it's due to be approved, the Moderna one.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's happening soon. So hopefully by February or March or something, we'll be at a better level.
Yeah, we got to wait though and see if we don't all if it doesn't make us all morph into like some kind of amphibious creature. Because I don't know, I just don't trust them.
I don't know. American Airlines gave me some sort of credit today, so maybe it was what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Liz, are you going to get a vaccine, Liz? You're a scientist, so I trust you.
Am I going to get one?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just thinking, scientists, they should know better. So I'm just going to follow your lead. Of course, I'm going to wait a month and see if you morph into some kind of amphibious creature. Then.
Yeah, my wife's a microbiologist. She's going to get one.
Yeah. I was like,
all right. Let's see, what was it? In Chicago, I'm pretty sure your whiskey's available I'm betting it's available at Warehouse Liquors. and a number of others. Heritage is a good distributor, so they're going to get it wherever good whiskey is sold.
So they have it up in Pennsylvania.
You didn't ask for it. Please do. We do have a site online. There's a store in DC that will ship to most places that will ship. And if there's any stores that ship that would like to carry us, it'll contact us. We'll get it together. And we'll stock you up. So
yeah, hopefully Fountainhead Market, even though Fountainhead itself has shuttered its doors. Fountainhead Market.
I heard that. That's very sad.
Yeah. They just couldn't. They just had the rooftop, and now it's winter in Chicago, and you really don't want to sit on the rooftop.
What a challenge for the holiday industry.
Well, you saw that poor woman in California who owned a bar. Who, by the way, the movie industry was setting up a fake bar across from her place, and that was okay, but they're shutting her down. California. Yeah, it's tough on all of them, and actually, there's some really great. I just posted a few. Might as well throw this out. There's a couple of different groups trying to raise funds for the drink industry, helping folks out. There's also who was it? Kent Ravish up at Traverse City. Traverse City Distillery. They're creating some fund for distillers.
Oh.
Yeah, I just saw that today as well. So hopefully there'll be some relief for some folks until all this crap is over with.
Yeah, a lot of distillers are more, some distillers are more dependent on the tasting room than others.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same, we saw that a lot with brewers. Last year, breweries that were going on the tasting room model were riding high, and the other guys were looking like dinosaurs, and now that's on a 180.
Well, and even if you're not, someone like Rick with his newer distillery in Williamsburg, he might be okay, but think of all the money, all the revenue he's losing.
Yeah,
you're a big tourist attraction like
could have made more. Yep.
There's a number of guys who are in that situation.
At least his ducks are comfy.
His ducks are comfy.
Yep.
His barrels are sleeping soundly in motel rooms, and he's drinking like Dean Martin by the pool.
What do you think? So, what do you think of the Peachwood?
I love it. I think it's really good.
I do like the Peachwood.
It's a little too good for
it's
1:14 in the afternoon.
You've got the smoke dialed back quite a bit.
I tell you when we got a hold of the peach orchard, the remnants of this peach orchard, we tried to see what the aromatic qualities of the smoke were, and it was just so beautiful. We probably should have gone in in a bigger way, but it was just tough keeping up with demand. So we'll probably be close to making as much peachwood as applewood because it's really doing well. So, but I like them both.
Well, that's good. You make them.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It'd be horrible if you're like, I like one of them. The other one's kind of crappy.
You'd be kind of screwed then. Yeah. So now, not to keep harping on this, but is the peachwood just smoked or is it soaked as well?
Oh, it is smoked and soaked.
Okay. All right.
Peachwood smoke on the malt, and peachwood and oakwood.
Just the way you said it just sounded kind of like it is smoked and soaked.
It is soaked.
Soaked and
soaked.
It's like a Williamsburg Main Street's kind of way of saying it. Listen, pal, you are going to be smoked and soaked.
Well, I just would like to thank the people in Scotland for inviting me over and teaching me what they could because that was amazing. learn that. And the thing is, before that, I did try smoking malt before that, but it just kept on ripping the rolling papers.
Oh, the Yuck Shack. Everyone.
I have the same problem when I smoke ribs.
All week long, the Yuck Shack in North
Yeah,
Williamsburg.
that's what I was going to ask you. So with all this wood around, do you do a lot of meat smoking as well?
Ooh.
Preferred variety?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I started. I used to cook a lot in the fireplace, and I'd have my different woods, and I'd have a little grill, and I would do my lamb chops, and that with the apple wood and the cherry wood, and yeah, it's kind of a nice way to go.
You had a little fire pit outside the tasting room in Williamsburg, did you not?
We do, yeah.
Throw some of that whiskey soaked wood chips.
Love that.
Put
Would
that
lose your eyebrows.
They work well. We we do use them over and over again, so we don't have such a huge production of used chips. But we started experimenting when my engineer from Scotland came over, Harry. I'd been doing some experiments with the wood, and we were out looking at stills or equipment or something, and we came back. We were drinking some of my experiments, and he said, "This is pretty good. Do you mind if I send some off to the Scotch Whisky Institute?" And I said, "No, that'd be great." And so he sent it off, and the results came back, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Coburn, what we've determined is that this, whiskey that you sent is between 7 and 8 years old." And I said, "How interesting." Because what we had sent had never been in a barrel and had chipped for about 5 months or something like that. So it dawned on me then, and then listening, to different people, extraction is easy with wood. So I've learned that much, but that may be more than most people know. But getting the balance right is been the challenge. Getting the flavor, so it's not a simple matter of trying to get the maximum color or flavor or whatever. It's so it gets into the toast levels and the introduction and why we use the used chips as well. They're giving something softer and different, if not at the same velocity.
Well, Rick, life is all about balance, and we're going to have to pay the balance of going over time. Ravi charges us by the minute. Jeez. We have to wrap it up for this week. Yeah, I'm sorry. Wait, we can continue, I guess, off. I don't know. Continues.
Rick, it was really great chatting with you, and thank you for
thank you for samples. Samples are always great.
Yes, remember that.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Marty. You're the best, and like I said, to the wood.
To the wood.
Toasted.
Spoils.
Toasted.
Oh, toast. Yes, toast to the woods. Yes. To the woods go the spoils.
I don't know if I'm toasted, but I do feel a little bit steamed.
I feel a little soaked. Amen. Yes.
Looking ahead, real quick, next week, come back, check it out. We have a new guest, and it's Stephen Gould.
Heading west. Go west, young peoples.
Yes.
That's
Young
more
watchers.
really kind of coined actually from somebody else.
That's going to be a look into the past. They use a lot of older techniques, older equipment, right?
Yeah. He collects stills. So he has he has cognac stills. He has old alembic stills from different periods of time, which he plans at some point to use.
Cool.
I want to try Lee Wood stuff with the malted rye, cherry wood.
Yeah, and the chocolate malt.
Lee, please reach out to Rick Actually, you guys should do a whiskey exchange.
Ooh, Christmas.
Yes.
Collaborative whiskey.
Hands across the Mississippi.
Oh
And
my
thanks,
God.
Charles.
Or
Thanks,
whiskey
Phil.
across the Mississippi.
And with that,
But thank you, everyone, for being here today, for tuning in. Mr. Wasmund, thank you, and enjoy
Rick.
your brandy Glencairn glasses. And Lou is going to send you 200 signed copies of his book for you to not only sell, but maybe pass around the university down there.
That would be
just-
awesome. Lou, you need
Yeah.
to come visit.
Oh, yeah, it would.
And Marty, you can send the check.
Which Wait, that's Liz. So that's Liz's department. She does accounting. She's much smarter than you and I.
Remember, folks, there's still time before Christmas.
So,
Oh my
all
God!
right, guys,
What a
if you haven't tried Copper Fox, and remember, that each bottle comes with my personal guarantee that if you don't love it, you bring it back to the distillery, and I will finish it.
Look for this face on the shelf talker. Just
Okay.
like that.
Merry
bye,
Christmas.
Bye, everyone.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Bye, Rick.
Bye.